The NBA offseason is usually a lot of fun. You have the draft and then you have free agency, and it comes right after the NBA Finals. And typically, the NBA owns that stretch of June. And your competition is baseball. But mid-November, a lot different, a lot more competition. And even if you're not distracted, or we weren't, by football, there's still a lot of storylines to grab onto this week. And you have a trade already with Chris Paul going to the Phoenix Suns. And maybe you get James Harden going to Brooklyn. I don't know if you're going to have big-name free agents hitting the market. And we don't have any idea who these draft prospects are because there was no NCAA tournament. That's usually the coming out party where we get introduced to somebody and then we fall in love with them. But the college players didn't get a chance to take that stage, so their names never took hold. You know, the real name that we know is LaMelo Ball, but that's basically because of his family, not necessarily because of his play. You got a lot of these players who played overseas, and whoever these guys are, we're going to see them soon enough because the season starts December 22nd. Not a lot of hype this week for the draft. The season will be here soon enough to keep NBA fans quite busy. But the big storyline is James Harden wants out of Houston. They built this team around James Harden. Remember, James Harden didn't want to play with Chris Paul anymore? And they ship him off to Oklahoma City and send a ton of draft picks with him because, James Harden wanted to play with Russell Westbrook. So Daryl Morey makes the trade, the GM, and then brings in Russell Westbrook. Now, I don't know if Russell Westbrook wants out or they're going to ship him out, and James Harden now wants out as well. So their long-term odds of keeping Harden are rapidly decreasing here. I wonder if you have a style that can keep James Harden there. You know, he's a ball-dominant player, ball hog, and if you want to go to Brooklyn, is he going to be able to get back to maybe his role that he played when he was in Oklahoma City with Kevin Durant? It's hard to go from I get to shoot as much as I want every single game to, hey, let's move the ball around a little bit. I think winning is the great elixir here. He's 31 years of age. He's looking around to everybody he's playing against, and they're all winning. They've all got titles, and he wants one. Kevin Durant ran into this as well. Oklahoma City looked around. Hey, if I want to be recognized one of the 10 great players of all time, I got to win championships. James Harden is nothing more than what Michael Jordan was when he first started. He was a highlight reel, fun to watch, but there was nothing else attached to it. And I think when Phil Jackson came in and is able to say to Michael, you know, your legacy is going to be just one of the great scorers of all time. Why not be one of the great winners of all time? I don't know if James Harden cares about that. I know Kevin Durant cares about his legacy. I don't know if Kyrie does. But if you're going to put those three together and they understand what their roles are or what they want to play, can they play a Golden State style of offense? Would be my big curiosity there. And we'll talk to Woj about this because I think it looks like a hot mess. Because you got a new coach, Steve Nash, never coached before. Mike D'Antoni is there on the roster as an assistant coach. And then you're going to bring in James Harden, and you're going to have Kyrie and Kevin Durant, and who's running the team, and it feels like everybody's going to take their turn, and I'm the coach. No, you're the coach. I want to be the coach. Who's taking the last shot? All of this. You know, James Harden, he's wanting this, and people make a big deal that he turned down a 2-year extension for over $100 million. He's still going to get paid. James Harden has made $500 million in his career. If you look at the Adidas deal that he signed, which is a couple of $100 million, I don't even know what the James Harden shoe looks like. Does anybody? And I know that I'm not in their demo. You're going to bring in a guy for $200 million. I don't know what Adidas gets out of that, but James Harden got paid, and he's going to get paid. Maybe he doesn't get $50 million a year, but he's got $500 million right now. And maybe he takes a little less. I don't know what Brooklyn is going to give up to get James Harden. Can they give Houston enough to bring him in? Is that the only destination for him? And if I'm the Rockets, I'm not in any hurry to help out James Harden at all. Be like, all right, you want out? Okay, you got 2 years left with us, James. You help us. How do you help us? Because We got to rebuild this entire system. You got a new head coach coming in. How do you feel if you're Russell Westbrook? James wants you. They're going to trade all these picks. You get there. Oh, Harden wants out now. And then who's going to want Russell Westbrook? A ball dominant and a big salary, and he's not as good a player as James Harden. But last one out of Houston, turn the lights off. Yes, Paulie.
I got a few NBA questions.
All right.
First of all, doesn't it feel like Russell Westbrook's going to be playing in China in about 2 years for $75 million a year? All right, back to this. If you're Chris Paul, why would you want to go play for the Phoenix Suns when you don't have a ring and you're getting older?
Where is he going to go?
A team that has a better chance to win a title.
But who is taking him?
I don't know. It just seems like...
Well, you got to give me the destination before...
But doesn't Chris Paul have like 18 no-trade clauses where he decides where he goes?
Well, he decided to go to Phoenix.
Okay.
I thought Milwaukee wasn't interested. I think he would have gone to Milwaukee, and...
So he went to Phoenix for a lifestyle move, do you think?
Yes.
I'm being serious.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's a young team. It's really, to me, it hinges on DeAndre Ayton. If he becomes a great player, then they have a chance. They're not winning a title in the next 2 years. I mean, they're just not.
My next question is,
okay,
if the Houston Rockets try to trade James Harden to the Brooklyn Nets, what could the Nets give up that's Harden worthy? They're not giving up their 2-star players, a bunch of B-minus players and draft picks that are going to be the 28th, 29th, 30th pick in the draft?
Well, you're going to get 3 starters right away. Karis LeVert is a good player. Spencer Dinwiddie is a good player. Jackson Allen is a good man. I mean, he's a serviceable, high-energy big man.
This reminds me, there was a great trade years ago where I think Phoenix acquired Charles Barkley, and they sent 3 starters like Antonio Lang, and Tim Perry, and they're like, look at the depth that the Philadelphia 76ers have now getting rid of Barkley. How'd that work out for us?
Well, you also know that you're going to lose him at some point now. What do you get in return? I think I would hold on to Harden. I would just say, all right, you want him, you got to really blow us away here. But if I'm getting 3 guys who are going to start and I'm going to get some draft picks here, I free up some cap space here as well. If I get rid of Harden, then I might as well get rid of Russell Westbrook. And the fact that the Hornets, Michael Jordan wants Russell Westbrook, if I'm Houston, I'm like, we'll drive him down. We'll hand deliver him down there to the Hornets. If Mike wants him, you can have him. Yes, McLevin.
There's a report the Sixers don't want to give up Simmons for Harden. It kind of makes sense. Just age, right?
Yeah, I get it. But if I'm making the move, I think this came out, and the timing of this came out probably from Harden's side, is let's see, or Houston side, let's see if we can get somebody else interested here. Because if you got 2 takers for Harden, now we can make the deal even more enticing. But if I'm the 76ers, I would still look at James Harden and pair him with Ben Simmons. Because people, I think, look at this and go, oh, Ben Simmons, he doesn't play that style. Ben Simmons is the perfect teammate. He doesn't have to shoot. And Joel Embiid wants to shoot. He wants to average 30 points a game. Ben Simmons will do all the dirty work for him. But I go back to, this was a story about Steph Curry. And Steph Curry was telling people at the All-Star game a couple of years ago that Harden wants to be able to play that team ball. Like he'd love to be in a style, in a system that has that embraces that, incorporates that. I don't know if you could create that in Brooklyn, but Durant was part of that, and there's part of James Harden and James Harden, when he first started out as 6th man in Oklahoma City, was a great off-the-ball offensive player. He didn't have to have it, but when he got it, he made you pay. I don't know what legacy means to him. I don't know if he cares about this, but it feels like I'm 31. I want to play with these guys. Maybe we have some fun and win a championship here. Durant wants to be, the greatest player of all time. Like in his mind, legacy is really important. I don't know about Kyrie, but it is fascinating that Steve Nash is just going in there as the head coach. Yes, Eden.
Kyrie feels more like he would be like, legacy is just a construct of other people's mind. Why would I limit myself to put myself in the box of other people's minds when I can just live in the stars.
Yeah. And by the way, the Earth's flat. Yes, McLevin.
That's all good until you tweak your MCL. I just worry. Poll question: are the Nets the favorite if they get those three?
Favorite to win it all?
Yes.
Let me see what happens the rest of the offseason here. Who are the Lakers getting? Nobody's talking about Golden State. I find it fascinating. Or the Miami Heat. Now they haven't done anything. I think what Milwaukee did yesterday, they got better. I'm not a big Eric Bledsoe fan. I think that they got better. Drew Holiday is a good player, two-way player for them. Bogdanovich, it feels like they're doing some things, and I think that it's enough for Giannis to sign that max deal and stay there. I think that's what they're trying to do. It may be something that's not necessarily for now, but it's for the next couple of years that Giannis sees that we have a chance to win. Now, if Brooklyn gets James Harden, Giannis may go, I don't have a chance to win here. Why would I stay here? But I think he's going to sign that max deal and stay in Milwaukee. Yes, he.
Is it Eric Bledsoe, George Hill, and 3 first-round picks?
Yeah.
That's ultimately 5 first-round picks.
Yeah, that's steep.
Dang.
Steep. But George Hill and Bledsoe won't stay in New Orleans. They got too many point guards. I mean, it's still Lonzo Ball's team as a point guard. Yes, McLeod.
Yeah, when you say Drew Holiday and one of the Bogdanoviches, it just feels like they're adding more pieces around, but not the right. They need a real number 2 or.
Well, Middleton is a number 2. He's not a solid number 2 that you would have on other teams, but you might have maybe a guy who's not a solid number 2, but you would have solid 3s and 4s as well. And I think that's what they're trying to do. Holiday and Bogdanovich to go with Middleton, to go with Giannis. It's a good team, but I don't know if it's a good postseason team. There's, the Rockets were great regular season. There's certain teams that are great regular season teams. Get them in a postseason, and then all of a sudden they start to fold in a 7-game series. We've seen that with Milwaukee now back-to-back years. You can lead the league in wins. Can you win when you need to win in the postseason? Do you have that style? And it was so simplistic for Miami. What did Miami do? They basically said to the Greek Freak, we're going to set up a wall, and you're not going to be able to do those coast-to-coast or drive whenever you want to. And then all of a sudden, Milwaukee goes, hey, wait a minute. What's going on here? We're not playing the way we normally do. And Miami dusted them off. Yeah, Paulie.
One thing I'm fascinated about, if you're the GM and the president and the ownership of the Milwaukee Bucks, do you have a conversation with Giannis and his agent before you make this monster trade?
Oh, yes.
Well, but does the conversation, is it like, hey, we're about to make this monstrous trade. Will your client be part of this team for the next 7 years if we make this monstrous trade? And how can you trust the answer? And how can you get an answer? Because if I'm an agent, I'm keeping my options open. If I'm Giannis, I'm keeping my options open. But you're making this trade based on him being there, which is very awkward.
I have to include him. If I don't include him, that's worse.
But I would want the inclusion to work both ways.
Well, no, he's not. He has no reason to say, hey, if you do this, I'm signing. I think that for him to sign off on that max deal, he has to approve the roster moves. I would. If I'm in his position and you want me to stay, hey, we're thinking of bringing in this guy and this guy. He might be best friends with Eric Bledsoe or Dante DiVincenzo, who got traded as well. You just want to make sure that you don't upset him and you say, we're surrounding you with people that we think will make us stronger. But I would absolutely do a drive-by with him. Yeah, Paul.
It'd be like us having 5-year contracts presented to us and you are a free agent. Yeah. And we ask you, well, you're going to sign a 5-year contract. Yeah, sure, why not? Probably. And the next thing you know, Randy Scott's hosting this show on a Monday.
Yeah,
and we're like, us and Rando.
If you were that lucky.
That'd be great.
Yeah.